Out of all the shows to try to bring back, they had to bring back this one. Good gravy. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose. The man who rules the world runs into the irresistible force of a man with nothing to lose in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get the regular and variant editions of John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose on Amazon.com today. Family Guy producer Seth MacFarlane and NBA superstar Steph Curry want to bring back Good Times as an animated sitcom on Netflix. And this, as I see it, is one of the stupidest decisions that I have ever seen as related to a television show. And the reasons why this is an extremely stupid idea is because when I take a critical examination of this idea to bring back Good Times, it shows me how people like Seth MacFarlane are truly out of ideas and how they are so stuck in the past, they're not really thinking about the future as related to the black image. Now, your Seth MacFarlane is known for presenting us with some of the worst images of black people on his show like Family Guy, where he had Cleveland Brown, an emasculated black male, practically dominated by his wife, Loretta, for multiple seasons. And then in his spin-off show, The Cleveland Show, we saw this emasculated Cleveland Brown and his effeminate acting son, Cleveland Jr., becoming part of a blended family when Cleveland married his high school crush, a baby mama with 2 kids, and this image of black men wasn't really positive at all because we saw your Cleveland Brown presented as the worst emasculated simp, and Seth MacFarlane is not known for really presenting good, balanced images of black people on his shows, and that's why I have as little faith in him as I had in Norman Lear after watching Good Times back in the 80s when it was in syndication. And that's where I believe Good Times belongs. Unfortunately, Seth MacFarlane and his partner Steph Curry, who really doesn't seem to know much about investing, has decided to invest in this show, not understanding that this show wasn't a show that elevated the black image. No, this was a show created by white leftists to passive-aggressively promote diversity while making fun of black people. Yes, passively, we got an image of a black family presented on screen, but aggressively, what they did was make an image of a black family that made mockery of black people. Because while Good Times was set in the Cabrini Green projects, this show was all about making a show white people could laugh at black people and make mockery of black people, because in their eyes, as long as we had this stereotype of black people living in the ghetto at the bottom of the world, we could have their comfort of knowing that there was somebody black at the bottom and that they would never rise to the top. And that was the big joke with Good Times back in the 70s that most people didn't get, but people who were educated and self-aware, like brother John Amos, who was playing James Evans on the show, he understood that people were laughing at him, and that's why he was calling out a lot of the BS that was going on that show as related to the writing. And what they were doing on the show was setting it up so that James Evans Jr., played by Jimmy Walker, would be a certified minstrel. And that's what they did for most of these shows, was have JJ coming out here being loud, being ignorant, and acting incredibly silly. And then they would have the other characters here and there like Velma and Michael, but they wouldn't really be any sort of focus. But the whole thing was, the show was meant to be something where whites laughed at blacks, and they laughed because they saw black people at the bottom of the world, and they knew that they were secure in their place in white supremacist America. And this show was no different than other shows like The Jeffersons, which featured George Jefferson, a so-called professional black man who had moved on up, but he had shown that he was still an ignorant black man because all he did for most episodes was chase white people and seek white validation. And the same thing went on in other black sitcoms during this period, especially ones produced by Norman Lear. And what they want to do is bring back this narrative and have breathe brand new life into these old stereotypes once more. So that's what your Seth MacFarlane wants to do. And many of the leftists on platforms like Netflix, they're all behind this type of narrative because they can, on the surface, appear to be all about diversity, but then it's all the same white supremacy repackaged in a brand new box, similar to what they're doing with that Netflix movie Cuties, where they go out of their way to talk about how this is a commentary on so-called sexualization of children, when in actuality, it's all about sexualizing the black girl and turning her into a black Jezebel. But for this sitcom, all they want to do is repackage the coon and brute stereotypes and bring them back to life on the Netflix platform and make these stereotypes the old back as the social norms and have kids sitting there thinking that this is normal behavior for black people, because this is what they want to do with this type of programming, is get you back on the platform so that you can start acting in a way that these white leftists feel comfortable with and make their world smooth, because the left arm of white supremacy, what makes them feel comfortable is seeing ignorant black men, seeing loud black women, seeing promiscuous black women, and what they want to do is put this on a platform and present it as entertainment when really it's social engineering. And again, I would sit there and ask your Seth MacFarlane, why do you want to bring back a show that is over 40 years old when there are perfectly good new concepts out here? Why do you want to rehash an old 40-year-old concept that is past its prime, a show that is pretty much done and been dealt with, and when we've already had all of this refuted and shattered by shows like The Cosby Show, Family Matters, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air back in the 90s. So this whole good times concept is obsolete, and it isn't going to be funny or relatable to kids of today. Moreover, there are perfectly good, new, fresh concepts out there. I myself have a perfectly good, fresh, all-new concept called All About Nikki that I created back in 2011, a sitcom that I wrote almost 2 seasons of episodes for, and that was an international bestseller when I went out here and launched that book back in 2011, and people liked the idea of seeing a black girl from Beverly Hills who was dealing with her relationship with her father, and people liked that sitcom so much that people wanted to actually do this show, but things fell through. But why aren't you trying to contact somebody like me to create a show like an All About Nikki, instead of going out here and getting this old good times that people have practically forgotten about? Why not try to do something new? And the reason why I believe Seth MacFarlane doesn't want to do something new is because he's afraid that if somebody does something new, he won't be able to go back to his smooth world, because if you have to deal with a black man like myself the same way Norman Lear had to deal with John Amos, you're not going to be able to put these underhanded jokes in where you laugh at black people at their expense. No, you're going to have to actually make comedy where everybody can laugh at the situation and not laugh at the person. And that's the thing that keeps him from wanting to go out here and do something new. And that's something that Netflix doesn't want to do. And sadly, your Steph Curry can't see the big picture as related to this good times. He's thinking that this is a good investment, but like Halle Berry with Monsters Ball, he's being used as a pawn on the table. And as a pawn on the table, he's pumping money into a show that is not designed to elevate the black image, but degrade the black image. And that's what this whole bringing back good times is all about. This is about making it a good time for white leftists, because as long as they can sit there and laugh at black people, they can feel comfortable about their place in the world, and they can bring back this old idea because they want to bring back these old ideas about white supremacy to breathe brand new life into old stereotypes and socially engineer old stereotypes in the minds of young children. This is all about programming people's minds and programming ideas about black people into people's minds that make these racists feel comfortable. Because the Good Time show, as I see it, it wasn't funny back then. It's not funny right now. And an animated Good Times is just, again, another way to indoctrinate young children into buying into old stereotypes and make them believe old stereotypes are the way black people behave. Because this show's concepts and ideas are outdated. They were already refuted once we had shows like The Cosby Show come on, Family Matters come on, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Sister, Sister. We no longer need Good Times. It is an archaic concept, and it's time to move forward. Unfortunately, Hollywood doesn't want to move forward as related to the black image, and they only want to see a certain black image because that makes their world smooth, it makes them feel comfortable, and it makes them feel like this is the place where they feel secure about themselves. And they don't want to see a show like that I propose, like in All About Nikki, about a black girl who is living in Beverly Hills, a mix of The Fresh Prince and Clueless, because that makes it uncomfortable for them. Because if we start showing you black people making money like they make money, black people going to school where their kids go to school, and black kids going out here and having friends and having a life in their world, that makes them get scared, because that means that they have to actually compete. And that's what scares them when they see something like an All About Nikki, and they don't want to go out here and produce that type of show, because that type of show shows the world that little black girls and black boys can make that type of money, live in those type of neighborhoods, get that kind of education, and have that kind of success. And that makes those white leftists uncomfortable, because those black people are in their backyard, and they don't want those black people in their backyard. No, they only want those black people there if they're like this, like that Kenya Barris on that, who makes the Blackish, where they're all scared. They don't want confident people like I Write. No, they want the Kenya Barris scared brother, or what they really want to see is the black people in the ghetto and in the gutter, because they know if the black people are in the ghetto and in the gutter, they don't have to worry about those black people, because they're in a place far away from them, and they can feel safe and secure in their own little enclave. And that's why they love shows like Good Times, because it's a good time for these white leftists who are just as much a white supremacist as the whites on the right. And they want to be entertained by seeing a black person in poverty, a black person in misery, and a black person being a failure. That's how they enjoy their success, by seeing black people at the bottom. And this type of programming is about programming your mind so that you will believe that the only place for a black person is the ghetto, and that all black people, whenever they try to do something, they fail at it. Because that's what Good Times was all about, programming it into black people's minds that everything with black people was failure, and creating the idea that black and failure create a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's one of the things that I hated about the Good Times show. And again, I don't want to see this show come back, because we have moved on from this show. We have gone past what this show was, and we have gone past living in a world where we're listening to some white man's vision of who we are. I mean, in a world where we have writers like myself creating black fantasy, black science fiction, people making black manga, and people out here showing you different aspects of the black community, like I do with the Spinsterella book, showing you the black goth subculture. We have gone far past the ghetto, and it's time that our other forms of media started showing us moving past this ghetto and started showing us the larger world of the black community. That's what I want to see when I hear somebody like one of these platforms like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime talking about doing a brand new show. Show me some of the other parts of the black community. Show me other parts of the black experience, because I'm getting tired of hearing about the ghetto. I'm getting tired of hearing about the streets. I'm getting tired of hearing about the same old stories, and I'm getting tired of being stuck in a world where people keep focusing on the past and not looking to move forward into the future. Our media needs to be showing us different aspects of the black experience. I mean, if I can do this from my bedroom on the SJS Direct imprint, then why can't Seth MacFarlane go out here and make these kind of concepts? And why can't rich blacks like Steph Curry go and try to find guys like me to create brand new concepts that show you a richer and broader and more diverse picture of black life? Because as I see it, it's time for us to get out of the ghetto of the good times and show people the greater black experience that we have out here and the greater black culture that is out here. That's what I want to show whenever I write a script for a show like in All About Nikki, or its companion book All About Maryland, or when I do fantasy stories like the ISIS series or the E-Steam series or the John Haynes series, or books like the Cinderella trilogy. I want to show you a richer picture. Unfortunately, Hollywood wants to keep you thinking about the ghetto because they want to keep black people on a ghetto in a plantation, and they want to keep black people at the bottom of the world, because keeping black people at the bottom of the world makes many of these white supremacists on the left and the right feel comfortable. And that's why I canceled my Netflix, because Netflix created Cuties, and this announcement of Good Times makes me thank God I canceled my Netflix, because if you're going to put on crap like this on your platform, then I'm going to go and continue to create my own content, because this content is not the type of image of black people I want to see ever again. If you want to try some of my positive African American fiction, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Cinderella trilogy, and books like the Thetas, you can find all of that positive African American fiction on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, like, and subscribe. Now available. Paperback and Kindle Unlimited. ISIS, the main event. It's carnage inside of a steel cage when the goddess next door steps in the squared circle with a beast from the boss in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, the main event, in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.